I still remember the moment I caught my reflection in a store window and almost didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. Her eyes seemed tired, her cheeks looked heavier, and the corners of her mouth drooped just slightly. I hadn't changed my skincare routine, and I certainly hadn't aged overnight. The real culprit, my hairstyle. What I thought was flattering was, in reality, adding years to my face. It's something so many women over 55 experience without realizing it. We think we're choosing styles that make us look polished and sophisticated, but certain cuts and shapes can actually drag our features down. It's not about wrinkles or gravity alone. It's about how hair length, shape, and volume interact with a maturing face. An anti-aging hairstyle can lift and brighten your features, but the wrong one can do the opposite in an instant. That's why in this video, I'm sharing the 3 hairstyles that made my face look noticeably droopy, and more importantly, what I did to fix them. If you've ever wondered why your haircut doesn't give you the youthful, confident look you imagined, or why your reflection feels a little off, this is where we find the answers together. I'll also show you modern, elegant hairstyles for mature women that can lift your face, enhance your best features, and make you feel radiant again. Because here's the truth. At 60, you don't have to settle for styles that work for your age in the traditional sense. You deserve a hairstyle that celebrates who you are right now, one that frames your face beautifully, feels effortless, and makes you smile every time you pass a mirror. And once you know what to avoid, you'll never look at your haircut the same way again. So, let's start with the first sneaky style that fooled me for years and might be doing the same to you. The too long, heavy hair that pulled my face down. For decades, I believed that long hair was the ultimate symbol of femininity. I loved the way it flowed over my shoulders and the comfort of knowing I could always pull it back into a ponytail. But as I entered my late 50s, something subtle began to change. That same length that once felt romantic started to feel heavy. It wasn't just the weight on my head. It was the way it pulled my entire face downward. Long, one-length hair without layers might look sleek in photos, but on a maturing face, it can create a curtain effect. Instead of framing and lifting, it drags the eye downward, making cheekbones less defined and jawlines softer. When you add in the natural thinning of hair that happens over time, the length can look limp, losing the healthy bounce we associate with youth. This is why so many stylists who specialize in anti-aging hairstyles for women over 60 recommend reconsidering the long at all costs mindset. I didn't understand the science behind it until a friend, who happens to be a hairstylist, pointed it out. She explained that the visual weight of hair plays a big role in how youthful our face appears. Too much weight below the shoulders pulls focus downward, while layers and strategic volume can visually lift. That's why layered haircuts for mature women are such a game changer. They open up the face and add movement, making you look more vibrant. When I finally decided to make the change, I was nervous. I asked for a cut just past my shoulders with soft, face-framing layers. The difference was immediate. My eyes looked brighter, my cheeks appeared lifted, and even my posture felt more confident. Friends started asking if I had changed my skincare routine, but the truth was far simpler. My hair was working with my face, not against it. If you love long hair, you don't have to chop it all off, but you do need to rethink the way it's shaped. The key is finding a length and layering pattern that balances your facial proportions and gives your hair the movement it needs to flatter you from every angle. And as I learned, sometimes the problem isn't length at all, it's the way your hair frames the very features you want to highlight. Which brings me to the next sneaky style that aged me overnight. The heavy, straight-down bangs that closed off my face. For years, I thought bangs were my secret weapon against aging. They covered my forehead, hid fine lines, and gave me what I thought was a fresh look. But heavy, straight-down bangs had an effect I didn't expect. They closed off my face, cast shadows over my eyes, and made my expression look tired. Instead of brightening my features, They pulled attention downward, creating the illusion of a heavier brow and softer jawline. This is something many women over 55 discover too late. Hair doesn't just sit there, it interacts with light and shadow on your face. When bangs are cut too thick, blunt, and straight across, they block the natural light that would otherwise illuminate your eyes and cheekbones. The result? You lose that open, lifted appearance that anti-aging hairstyles are meant to create. A hairstylist once explained it to me this way: think of your hair as a picture frame. If the top of the frame is too thick and dark, the art inside, the beautiful details of your face, can get lost. The key for mature women is balance. That's why lighter, wispy, or side-swept bangs are often recommended in modern hairstyles for mature women. They create movement, allow light to pass through, and can draw attention upward instead of down. When I finally softened my bangs into a side-swept style, it was like opening the curtains in a dim room. My eyes looked more awake, my smile felt more visible, and I actually got compliments about looking well rested. The style didn't just hide lines, it enhanced the best parts of my face while still giving me the youthful softness I wanted. For anyone considering bangs, here's the secret. Avoid creating a heavy hair wall across your forehead. Instead, opt for face-framing hairstyles that let your natural features shine. This could mean curtain bangs, soft side layers, or a textured fringe that blends into the rest of your hair. These styles are not only more flattering but also easier to maintain without constant styling. Making this small change didn't just update my look, it changed how I felt about wearing bangs altogether. I realized it wasn't about covering flaws, it was about creating harmony between my hair and my features. And while bangs can affect how your face looks, the shape of your haircut can be just as powerful. In my case, there was one classic cut that aged me faster than I could have imagined. The chin-length bob that hugged my face too tightly. There was a time when I believed the chin-length bob was the epitome of chic. Sleek, clean lines, easy to style, universally flattering, or so I thought. When I first got mine, I loved the sharpness of the cut. But as the months went by, I began to notice something unsettling. Instead of giving me that elegant Parisian vibe I envisioned, it was drawing attention to areas I didn't necessarily want to highlight. Here's the truth. As we age, our jawline naturally softens, and a perfectly straight bob that hugs the face can unintentionally emphasize this. On me, it made my lower face look heavier, and the tight curve of the cut seemed to spotlight the little bit of fullness under my chin. I didn't see it in the stylist's chair. Haircuts often look their best when freshly done. But in candid photos or my bathroom mirror at home, the effect was undeniable. A stylist who specializes in haircuts for mature women once told me that air around the face is essential for an anti-aging hairstyle. When hair sits too flat and too close, it can make facial features appear more compressed, and the overall look can feel severe rather than uplifting. This is especially true for hairstyles over 60, where softness and movement can make all the difference. When I finally loosened up the shape of my bob, adding subtle layers and a slight flip at the ends, the transformation was instant. The haircut still framed my face, but didn't trap it. The movement at the jawline helped create the illusion of lift, and the soft edges blended more naturally with my skin tone and features. Even my friends commented that it made me look happier, which speaks volumes about how hair shapes affect not just our appearance but the emotions we project. If you love a bob, and I still do, the key is avoiding that helmet-like shape that seals around your face. Ask your stylist for light layering, a bit of volume at the crown, and ends that angle slightly away from your neck. Not only will this open up your features, but it also brings back that effortless elegance we all want in our everyday look. Learning this was a turning point for me. It showed me that it's not just the haircut itself, but the way it interacts with your unique face shape and bone structure. And as I would soon find out, Even the most flattering cut can be sabotaged by one simple daily styling habit. The styling habit that flattened my hair and my face. I used to think I was playing it safe with my daily hair routine. A quick blow dry, a dab of smoothing serum, and maybe a touch of hairspray to keep flyaways in place. Simple, easy, reliable. But what I didn't realize was that this habit, especially the way I blow dried, was robbing my hair of the very thing that makes a maturing face look fresh and lifted: volume at the roots. Here's the problem. Every morning, I would aim the blow dryer straight down from the crown, pressing my hair flat against my scalp. Add in a smoothing product with a bit too much weight, and my hair had no chance of springing back. On camera or in person, the effect was the same. My hair looked sleek, yes, but it clung to my head like a cap, outlining the softer contours of my face and making my cheeks and jawline appear lower. Volume isn't just about style, it's about structure. In fact, stylists who work with anti-aging hairstyles for women over 60 will tell you that lifting the hair at the roots is one of the quickest ways to create a more youthful, open appearance. Think of it like adding the right foundation to a building. It changes the whole silhouette. Once I understood this, I started making small but powerful changes. I began blow drying my hair upside down for the first few minutes to give the roots a boost. I swapped my heavy serum for a lightweight mousse designed for volumizing hairstyles. And instead of blasting my hair from above, I used a round brush to lift sections at the crown and direct them slightly away from my face. The transformation was subtle but undeniable. My face looked more defined, my eyes appeared brighter, and the overall look felt effortless. If you've been styling your hair the same way for years, take a closer look at whether it's lifting you up or weighing you down. A haircut can only do so much. Daily habits are what either maximize or minimize its impact. Of course, volume is just one piece of the puzzle. Even with the perfect cut and styling technique, there's another factor that can make or break how youthful your face appears: your hair color. And as I discovered, the wrong shade can undo all the work you've put into your style. The hair color that aged me overnight. For years, I clung to the deep, rich brunette shade I'd worn since my 30s. It felt like my signature: classic, sophisticated, and, in my mind, the perfect way to hide gray. But the older I got, the more I noticed something unsettling. That same dark, uniform color was no longer flattering. Instead of making me look polished, it was making my skin appear dull, my lines more pronounced, and my overall look harsher. Here's why. As we age, our skin loses some of its natural vibrancy. Very dark hair, especially shades like jet black or deep espresso, creates a stark contrast against softer skin tones, casting shadows and drawing attention to fine lines. The result can be unintentionally aging, even if the hair itself is healthy and shiny. That's why so many colorists who specialize in hair color for women over 60 recommend moving towards softer, multi-dimensional tones that bring light back to the face. I learned this the hard way. One day, a friend showed me two photos side by side, one from a recent dinner and one from years earlier. My hair looked glossy in both, but in the newer photo, my face seemed tighter, almost pulled down. The culprit wasn't the cut, it was the color. That deep, solid shade was absorbing all the light instead of reflecting it. When I finally decided to make a change, my colorist suggested warm, blended highlights, just a few shades lighter than my base. We added caramel and honey tones around my face, creating what she called a soft frame effect. The difference was immediate. My complexion looked warmer, my eyes sparkled, and I didn't feel the need for as much makeup. The transformation was so striking that even people who didn't know I'd changed my hair commented on how refreshed I looked. The takeaway: anti-aging hairstyles aren't just about the cut, they're about color placement and tone, too. A solid, dark block of color can weigh your face down visually, while multitonal highlights create movement, light, and lift. Even subtle changes can shift the way your features are perceived, making you look not just younger, but more alive. Of course, color and style are only part of the story. Sometimes the most aging thing about our hair isn't what it looks like. It's the fact that we've been wearing it the same way for decades without realizing it's no longer working for us. And that leads to the final, most personal mistake I made. Holding on to the same haircut for decades. If I'm honest, this one was the hardest for me to admit. For more than 20 years, I'd worn the same haircut, a safe, familiar style that felt like me. It was the one friends recognized instantly, the one I saw in every family photo, and the one I told myself still worked just fine. But somewhere along the way, that haircut stopped serving me. The truth is, our faces, hair texture, and even personal style evolve as we age. What looked flattering in our 40s doesn't always translate the same way in our 60s. Bone structure changes, hair density shifts, and the way we carry ourselves adapts to new seasons of life. Yet so many of us cling to the same hairstyle out of habit, comfort, or fear of change. For me, that familiar cut became a security blanket. But instead of lifting my features, it started making my look feel dated. I didn't realize it until I stumbled upon an old photo of a friend I hadn't seen in years. She was in her mid-60s, but her hair was fresh, modern, and full of movement. That's when it hit me. She had evolved her style, and I hadn't. When I finally sat down with a stylist who specializes in modern hairstyles for mature women, I explained that I wanted something new, but still me. She studied my face, my hair texture, and even the colors in my wardrobe. Then she suggested a cut with more texture, soft layers, and a bit of lift at the crown. She kept elements of my old style so I wouldn't feel lost, but updated the shape enough to give me a brighter, lighter, more current look. The result wasn't just a new haircut, it was a new energy. I felt lighter, more confident, and oddly more in tune with the woman I am now, not the one I used to be. And the compliments weren't just about looking younger, they were about looking vibrant, approachable, and authentic. If you've been wearing the same hairstyle for decades, it might be time to ask yourself if it still reflects who you are today. Updating your look doesn't mean abandoning your identity. It means refining it to match the best version of yourself right now. And now that we've gone through all three hairstyles that made my face look droopy and the habits that made things worse, it's time to wrap it all up with the most important takeaway I've learned from this journey. Conclusion: the real secret to a lifted, radiant look. Looking back, I realized that none of these changes were just about hair. Yes, the wrong cut, color, or styling habit can make a face look droopy, but the real transformation comes from paying attention to how your hair works with your features, your lifestyle, and the woman you've become. The three hairstyles that aged me, long, heavy lengths without layers, thick, straight down bangs, and a chin-hugging bob, weren't inherently bad. They just weren't right for me anymore. Add in habits like flattening my roots, sticking to overly dark colors, and holding on to a decades-old cut, and it's no wonder I wasn't seeing the vibrant, confident woman I felt on the inside reflected back in the mirror. When I embraced layered haircuts for volume, softer bangs that framed rather than covered, and colors that brought light to my face, something shifted. My hair started to highlight my best features instead of working against them. And perhaps most importantly, I began to see myself not as someone trying to look younger, but as someone choosing to look her best at every age. That's the heart of an anti-aging hairstyle. It's not about pretending you're 30 again, but about honoring the beauty you have right now. If there's one takeaway I hope you carry with you, it's this: your hairstyle is one of the most powerful, visible ways to express who you are. Don't be afraid to evolve it. Whether that means adding movement, adjusting length, trying face framing highlights, or finding a stylist who truly understands hairstyles for women over 60, The smallest change can make the biggest difference. And if you're ready to take the next step, I've created more videos with easy, elegant hairstyle tips, anti-aging hair care routines, and modern looks for mature women that can help you feel lifted, radiant, and authentically you. Because your best hair isn't behind you, it's right here, waiting for you to claim it.